Good evening, guys. Matt Goglia. I have two items I wanted to bring up. They're both centered around SEPTO. SEPTO is special education PTO, for those who don't know. The first item is directed toward Mr. Selesnik, and then the second item is directed toward the board. It's my understanding about the PTOs that I think there's 6 of them, right? 5 for the buildings, and then SEPTO, as I mentioned. As I've gotten more involved and interested in the district, in the school district, I noticed that earlier this year, when Mr. Selesnik, when he had meetings with the PTOs, SEPTO was not included in the schedule, and the building PTOs were. Now, I'm sure your intention is not to exclude anyone, and that the thinking is that special needs parents are covered by a building PTO. But I'd like to submit to you guys that if you have a child whose disability is severe enough, you may be affiliated with SEPTO from pre-K until they turn 21, as opposed to changing your PTO every couple of years with the building. As an example, my son's school had curriculum night on Tuesday, and we received a deck from the school PTO, which came from the principal and vice principal, and it listed all the teachers and all the class parents. And my wife is a class parent for my son's class, but my son's teacher wasn't listed, and my wife wasn't listed because it's a self-contained class is the only thing I can guess. Also, so the K through 2 class wasn't included, and the 3 through 5 class wasn't included. So I would just ask you, if you have young children, like, how would you feel, to not be included like that? I'm reminded every day that my son is different, but something like that is just very, kind of in your face. And again, I don't know who put the deck together, but I do know it was sent out by the principal and vice principal. So all that to say this, my ask is, Mr. Superintendent, that you have a dedicated budget meeting and include SEPTO on that schedule. I think that would really be appropriate. The second issue related to SEPTO that is more geared toward the board, over the summer, the district hired a 3 through 5 self-contained teacher. And my understanding is that often, I don't know if it's always, but often parents are involved in the hiring process. Now, I know some in administration have taken responsibility. They said it was a miss, and that's fine, and I respect that. But to Amy's point, ultimately, doesn't the Board of Education approve the hires, right? So I'm just wondering what due diligence was done there. Was the question asked, hey, did any of the the SEPTO parents, were they involved in the hiring at all? So my ask to the board is, in the future, as hires are made in the district, specifically ones that will be working with the special ed population, that you please include someone from the executive SEPTO board the same way you might for one of the other PTOs. Thank you.
Yeah. I just want to clarify. I think we're hearing a couple of different things. And with regard to SEPTO, we did hear a suggestion at a previous board meeting, and it's a very interesting suggestion. And again, I would suggest this should be discussed at parent council, where there's SEPTO representation at the table and an opportunity to talk about how these meetings are arranged. But typically the administration has offered PTO opportunities to hear about the budget. It's been referred to as sort of the budget roadshow. I think it's a really interesting suggestion and an opportunity that I'm sure the administration will be delighted to do a special or a separate SEPTO presentation. I also think it raises interesting questions, because I could imagine opportunities whereby parents who might have a concern related to the budget, related to meeting the educational needs of their own children or other children with IEPs or 504s, that there would be educational value to all parents in hearing that question. So I think it's actually a very interesting philosophical question when we talk about the budget, and to an audience of parent community members, do we want to provide a special forum, a separate forum for special education PTO families or community members? Or is there educational value to all community members in hearing the questions that parents of students who are also affiliated with SEPTO might ask? And, the answer here, I think, goes to one of the slides. The answer could be and, let's do it all. Let's do PTO specific building level budget meetings. And if SEPTO leadership would like to suggest we add a new one, that's a great idea. And then I think tonight separately, just to clarify, the concerns and questions we're hearing, we heard different concerns about self-contained classrooms and how families or classrooms were included and represented in some aspect of back to school night is how I was hearing that, just to separate those two things.
Just to add a little bit, Marjorie, and thank you for, I may not add because you've said all that so well, but just maybe it brings some further clarity. Mary and I meet monthly with the group that we refer to as Parent Council. Parent Council is the leadership of all the PTOs, including SEPTO. SEPTO is at those monthly meetings. And throughout the year, we anticipate what's coming up. And so we talk with that group about budget meetings that are coming up. We've done that in all the years that I've been here. The interesting suggestion about doing a separate one for SEPTO has never come up at Parent Council in those years. So it's come up now. I imagine it will come up as we get towards that budget process this year. And we'll have this very interesting conversation about the pros and cons of separating out versus including in together. So absolutely, I mean, that's the benefit of people coming forward with suggestions, and we appreciate that.